Hello, lovelies. So in this section, we're going to be going through a meditation. And this meditation is designed to create that inner awareness and that inner connection, not just with our mental body and our soul body and our higher self, but also with our physical self. There is so much wisdom that exists within our bodies, wisdom that existed back when our mothers were in our grandmother's womb. And so as the DNA extends into our body, so does the information. And over time, what can happen is this information can either be enlightening and helpful, or it can be corrupted and cause mutation of beliefs, of thoughts, of cells of our body, of physicalities, all of that. And so sometimes what happens when we get these two different extremes is our mental mind tries to make sense of the world we're in, and it uses this information that's already encoded in us to decide how our experience is going to be. Are we going to find abuse over and over again? Are we going to find that we're always looking outside of ourselves for the answers? Are we going to find that things come easy to us and we're easily successful and we love all the grace that flows to us? Do we find surrender very easy? Do we find surrender offensive because we feel like we have to fight? What kinds of things are in our bodies? So as we go through this meditation, notice if some of these stories start to come up. Now, the purpose isn't just to unlock all of the stuff that's inside your body. It's also to get yourself into a state of mind where you can receive the answers that you've been looking for, that you can feel when an answer is a yes or a no. When you maybe have been allowing yourself to be too distracted by other people's opinions and other people's thoughts, that we lose sight of what we really think and what we really know, and then what we really feel. So the idea is to have the head and the heart and the womb and all of that DNA and all of the experience and all of our guides to be on the same focused page. So we're going to be going through certain breathing, and also I'm going to use some touch techniques that I use on myself to help focus the energy in my body. And the reason I do it that way is because if we are too tired, if we are too hungry, if we are disconnected from our body and our mortal experience, then it's really hard to get information about our mortal experience because we're disconnected from our body and ourselves. If you think about it, if we are these energetic beings, if we are these souls that inhabit the body, if we have a higher self who always knows better than this rudimentary, dense human ball of blood and guts that's on a rolling ball of the planet, if we are higher than that, and if we are better than that, and if we disconnect from this dense human experience, then most likely we're not going to get the clear answers we want. I don't know about you, but I know that there have been times when I feel like I'm on this enlightened plane of existence and I'm just like fuzzy and buzzy, and you know what, no time exists, things don't matter, everything's fine. And it's interesting because somebody will try and pull me back to the density of humanity, and it's like, no, it's fine. And then something really awful will happen. I'll be like, you know what? I'm really tempted just to hit the reset button. If any of you grew up around the Nintendo era when it was just first coming out, I remember I would play a game, and if I was playing the game and I didn't like how it went, or I made a mistake right out of the gate, you know what I would do? I would hit that reset. Ding! Suddenly you have a do-over. Now it erases all the data and everything you've done, and it's as if none of it ever happened, which was great, and you keep that experience. So in my mind, the more enlightened I feel, and the more connected I feel, and the more disconnected from my body I feel, the more I get tempted to hit that reset button. You know what? This life isn't working. I'll just hit reset and I'll just reincarnate and do it all over again. But then I think, oh, then I have to do all of that over again. So sometimes that can be a challenge as we become very spiritually focused and we get that rush and that high of that spiritual movement, and where you get all the fuzzy tinglies in your body as your cells are being upgraded. Sometimes we forget that, oh, my body is actually not my enemy. My body is my vessel. My body is how I understand information. It holds information within itself. And it's also a beautiful mechanism that helps me to decipher and interpret all the content and information around me. So we're going to be doing a breathing exercise and tuning in to help us connect with that wisdom of the body, but also to create the space where our body's not a distraction, but a tool. And so there are a series of 3 meditations that we're going to be going through, 3 breathing exercises. Now, I have extended this out, so it's all one big chunk. But if you feel like you need more time in one of the segments, then please, by all means, pause it, skip back, practice it several times so you get used to it, and then move into the next one. You don't want to move to the next phase unless you have had a chance to experience the sensations in your body you did in the first phase. Now, with this breathing, it can cause, I should probably say, disclaimer, don't do it when you're driving. If you have neurological disorders or epilepsy, probably consult your doctor before you do it. And just because when we're breathing and we're bringing awareness and consciousness into the mind, and we're going to be aligning with that womb area, up the spine, into the head, sometimes it can make things extra spinny. Even if you suffer from vertigo, sometimes it can aggravate that. So make sure you check with your doctor. There's the disclaimer. And a lot of times, a lot of these things will actually help and enhance, but I'll leave that up to you. So we're going to start by getting nice and comfy. I recommend a space where you're not going to get interrupted. If you have like headphones you can put in, great. I prefer to not have them in because I don't like the electromagnetic frequencies affecting it, but do what you need to do for you. Sometimes the best place to be is in the car. Because when you're in the car, you can lock the doors and nobody can bug you. And you get the surround sound. So go where you're comfy, and you're going to want to make sure you have enough time to finish the video. Don't stop halfway through if you can avoid it. But if you need to, you can always come back and do it again. Okay. So as we tune in, there are 3 points that we're going to be touching on, literally. So for me, when I do visualizations and I'm like, okay, breathing and bringing my inner eye to a certain body part, sometimes it can be hard for me to connect my emotional energy, my breath energy with that body part. So what I'll do is I'll actually touch that body part. So I'm going to go through different points of touch that we're going to be doing with this breathing. Now, this is womb wisdom. So obviously we're touching the womb. If you are a man doing this, you still have the same parts and you would still touch the same organs. If you are a woman, this may be the first time you've ever touched yourself in this way. Now, no, I'm not saying sit here and masturbate. That's not what this is. But if you want to, feel free. It's your body. I'm not saying either way. But you do want to make sure that if you are using touch, it's just to get a focal point. So for example, if I said, okay, bring your attention, your awareness to your wrist. Now I could think about my wrist and I could try and pull that attention to my wrist. But if I have my eyes closed and I'm breathing and I lightly touch it, that creates, oh, this spot, this is where we're going. And sometimes I will tap it, like bring the energy here, Holly, bring it here, bring it here, bring it here. So if you have a hard time visualizing, then this may be the way that you can use your breath, pull it through the meditation, and also using those points of reference to pull the energy into, okay? So we will start at the perineum is one of the first ones. We're digging right into it. Since when did I hold back? Going deep, right? So the perineum is this tissue that's in between your vagina and your anus. So that little ridge right there. If you're a man, you still have a perineum. So it's anyways, if you don't know where it is, Google it. But the little ridge, that's where you're drawing your breath in first. You're going to draw your breath there and then feel it circulate. Once you feel it circulate, I'll guide you through this. You're going to pull that energy up through the belly, up through your body, all the way to the top of the head. So I recommend touching your perineum with your left hand, which is your feminine side, the receiving side. So you're receiving, you're holding, you're cultivating, you're nurturing that energy that's stored right there at the base. And if you got our last kit with the snakes and the kundalini, that's part of the same energy. They always roll into each other. I love how these kits work out. So same energy, kundalini, if you want to envision snakes coming up through you, that's pretty powerful. And so when you get your energy up to here on your crown, sometimes what I'll do is I'll find you know, that soft spot in our head, right? Babies have soft spots. It's where the head fuses, but there's usually a spot on the crown of your head that's a little bit more tender than others. So mine is right there. So if I were to fall on that spot, it would hurt the most. And if you press on it, usually you can feel some type of sensation in the rest of your head. That's how you know you're on that spot. So when you get up to moving your intention up and your breath up here, sometimes what I'll do is I'll tap right there with my right hand. So that's going to be your right. That's your masculine. That's your movement. That's what's going out and creating that surge of movement. Okay. So then the other place for the second part is going to be within that womb space. So your lower bottom of your pelvis. And so for me, in order to access this, I'll hold my hands. So here's my hips. I'll hold my hands right here along my pubic area as if creating that bowl of a pelvis. And I'll say, okay, here's the energy. And I allow the full belly out so it can expand. And then when you pull it in, you're going to feel that tightness come in. And you're going to expand and you're going to feel it. And you're basically creating this generator within your body. And so as you're breathing, I'll guide you through it. You're going to go through and you're going to fill up as much as you can right here, making it as big as you can. This is why it's good to do it alone, because sometimes we trick ourselves into sucking in or holding in because we don't like feeling fat. And so, but this is one of those times where it's air, it's energy, and you expand as big as you can. And then you're going to pull it in super tight as you can, creating that tension, but it's more like a capturing of the energy. So if you think of it, it's pulling it in, saying, now it's expand. Now we pull all those cells in and hold. And then you'll expand, squeeze it all in and hold. And what that's doing is it's creating movement. It's creating that Kundalini fire. And oftentimes while I'm doing this, I'll feel suddenly flushed with heat. And if you do suddenly get hot and uncomfortable, it's good to have like a blanket handy so you can throw it on if you get cold, or if you get hot, you can chuck it off. So making sure your environment is nice and comfy. So then after we create the energy here in the second one, you're going to envision it going up your spine, all the way up to the base of your spine where your head meets your spine. So the bottom of your skull has like a little knobby thing there, all the way to there. And that's where that breath and that light are going to go. And then you'll go back to the pelvis, pulling it in, charging it up, and then up that spine to this part right here at the back of the head. Okay. And again, these are ways that you can touch to create that energy and remind yourself that it's there. So I have my bowl when I'm at my pelvis, and then when it moves up, I'm going to take, again, my right hand, the masculine side, and I'm going to hold it right at that base of my head so that I can go, okay, right there, that's the spot. That's where we're surging. Or even just hold the whole back of your neck to say, pull it up here now, pull it up here now. And sometimes I'll tap, pull it up here now. Okay. And then for the third part, what we're going to do is you're going to, again, start at that pelvic floor, surging the energy, twisting it up the spine, and instead of going to the top of the head or the base of the neck, you're actually going to go into the center of the brain. And so for this one, it's really hard for me. I once tried doing like the ears, but that didn't seem to work. And so for me, what I have to do is I take my left hand and I hold it over my face. And then I take my right hand and I'm going to hold it over the back of my head, just like that. And what that's going to do is it's bringing the focus into the center of the brain. We want that center brain spot to be the place where we allow all the things that are in our mind, all of that wisdom and the answers to come through. And so that's where you're going to hold your focus and your gaze. Now, again, if you do any of this and suddenly you feel like too uncomfortable, or you get really dizzy, or you feel like for any reason you should stop. Sometimes it can activate a lot of traumas. And so if it does, breathe through it, maybe drum through it, or even stop and journal about what's come up. Because sometimes if we hold so much in our bodies, it's going to activate in order to be released. And so if it comes up, great. Whatever answers you're looking for may be just behind the block of what's in front. And so sometimes when trauma comes up, it means that there's something blocking us from getting the answers we need, or even accepting those answers, or taking action on those answers. And so this is some deep work, and it brings up different things for different people. So allowing yourself the space to maybe have a journal handy, because I do recommend journaling after this, because when you get that clarity, you want to put it somewhere immediately, because you just turned it all up here. And then if you just go back to regular life, you're going to have all this stuff right here. So allowing yourself to say, oh, I'm going to put this on paper. Great. And letting it be there. Okay. Are you ready to dive right in? Okay. So go ahead and get comfy. Relax. Find your comfy spot. And we're going to go into the meditation. It is a really good idea in this video to have your cacao beforehand to open up that heart space, or to have your light in the darkness flower essence. You'll put a few drops under your tongue, or you can even do your King Solomon essential oil and rubbing it on your heart, on the top of your head, and also on your pelvis at your sacral. You could even do it along your back and that low back area, or put it right on your perineum if you feel called to. Again, consult your doctor, all that jazz. So the key to this first part will be to allowing your focus and your intention to be at that pelvic floor center. The more energy and connection we can get with that base of our sacral chakra, the better. And so we're going to start, we're going to be breathing, and as we breathe, we're going to allow our attention to go through every nook and cranny of our pelvis. Okay? So lay comfortably. Now, if you find that it's hard for you to connect with your body, again, place your hands, the left hand being the lower side of the body. The right hand goes on the top side of the body, because that's the feminine is the left. And placing that in places that will help you connect to where your breath is if you need to. If you're able to do it without, great. Okay, so we're going to start closing our eyes, getting nice and comfy. Okay, so with your breath, breathe in and out. And as you inhale, pulling all that energy to your perineum, in, feeling the life force as you breathe out. In and out. Allowing your focus to be right at that base, feeling your pelvic floor, feeling the energy of your breath surge through that whole pelvis area. Now, as you inhale, shift your attention to the channel and begin to move your focus up the channel of your body until you get to the very crown of your head. When you get to the crown of your head, breathe out and feel the energy drop back down through your pelvic floor to that perineum again. Breathing in here, rising up with that energy all the way to the top of the crown and out. Drifting our gaze back to the perineum. Sometimes it helps to envision it being a light body that's shooting up through you, or a lot like how a blood pressure cuff would look, pumping it up all the way to the top, and then the dial falls as the oxygen falls out. We're going to do this for a few more breaths. In, bringing attention to that pelvic floor, all the way up to the crown, and then out, allowing it to fall. Feeling that fiery sensation of breath in, rising up to the top of your head and out. Remember, you can touch or tap these center points in order to connect better. In and out. In and out. In and out. In and out. Now follow your breaths for a few more breaths. Now, as you inhale, envision every nook and cranny being filled. Now envision all of that light falling down. Allowing this life force energy to be cradled in your pelvic floor. Allowing yourself to feel the energy and feel it intensify as you continue to breathe. And we're going to focus the energy back at the pelvic floor for a few breaths. Breathing in, feeling that lower pelvic floor swell. And out, pulling all of it in as if to contract, to hold, to cradle it, to squish it as if to say, oh, I love all that exists in here. Breathing in. And out. Feeling it contract once again. Breathing in. Remember, you can hold your hands at your waist, at your pelvic area, creating a bowl, reminding yourself of the bowl of energy that exists. And out. Breathing in. Accessing all that wisdom that's ever existed through this womb, and out. All the creation, all the self-expression. Now, as we inhale, allowing ourselves to feel that life force energy fill up in the fullness of our bellies, up our spine, up to our neck, where our spine meets the base of our skull. And let it rest there for just a moment before falling back down all the way to the pelvis. In, rising that inner life force all the way up to the base of our neck, where the top of our spine is, putting your hand there if needed. If you feel the desire to slightly moan, it's totally normal. Breathing in, all the way up to our skull and out. If you feel the need to move or rock your body with your breath, feel free. There is no right or wrong here. Breathing in, swelling up that full pelvis area. And out. Bringing that gaze up to the top of your spine. We're going to do this for a few more breaths, allowing the gaze to go from the base to the top and fall back down. In. 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 Pausing for a moment with your focus inside that pelvic floor, feeling the energy that's now circulating and spinning. Now that we feel the sensation and we feel the rising of the energy and the stirring, that's what we want, the stirring within our pelvis. We're going to do a few breaths in the pelvic floor, and then we're going to pull that light, that fire, all the way up the spine like a beautiful cobra, and we're going to hold it in the base, in the center of our brain. If you need some support to keep this in mind, of course, put your left hand over your face and your right hand at the back of your skull in the middle of your head. Okay, ready? Breathing into that pelvis. Feeling the swelling, the circulation of all the energies. Breathing in. Now we're going to breathe in. And as we breathe out, feel that rising up to the center of your mind. Pausing here for just a moment, feeling any circulation that's happening, and out. Pulling our intention back down to the pelvic floor, drawing in that life force energy, and up to the mind, pausing. Breathing in and out. And this pause is where the answers come. It's where the openness resides. If you've been struggling, needing wisdom, this is where to look for it. In and out. In and out. In and out. You can continue breathing as long as you feel called to. And once you feel your answers are received, your body feels activated, grab a pencil and pen or your phone to start typing, or even just a voice recording, and start letting those thoughts unfold down through you, through your beautiful vessel. I hope this has allowed you to connect with your body and to see that you can use it as a source of wisdom, information, energy, and even sometimes when I'm feeling extra fatigued or a lack of direction, this is when I love to set an intention and go through this breathing to re-energize my body. It seems to me it's even better than a power nap sometimes. I love you. May all that beautiful womb wisdom flow through you. Mwah.